What's up, guys? Back in today with another reaction to Windbreaker. This time was season 2, episode 8, I believe it is. It was a decent episode last week. Another pretty slow one, in my opinion. It's just setting out the premise for this arc, so it's bound to be a little bit slow. But met a new character who seemed pretty cool. Actually, met a few new characters. The girl I quite liked. Couple kind of yakuza seeming like organization of people just above the age of Sakura and Co. I think they're like probably just out of like school or something. But overall, again, pretty slow episode. Like I think it's Nire, his stuff. It just like everything apart from episode 6 just seems to be lasting a bit longer than it should. Just spending a bit too much time going into things where the message is very loud and clear, but it's almost like I can't remember what I was going to say, but yeah, they're just spending a bit too long. Just the pacing of things is just a bit too slow, in my opinion. I'm a fan of like slow burn stuff. I'm a fan of slow paced things. But here, like I said, it's just like they send the message, and then they send it again and again and again, and just make sure it thoroughly gets through to you. And for me, it's just like it's like, do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I don't get it? Like that shot there with the bottle was like that perfectly summed up what 15 minutes of dialogue from that episode. Just that one shot of the bag of drinks summed up everything that could have been said. Yet they still decided to spend so long on it. I think the last episode was less egregious in that manner, but again with the Nire stuff, it could have been a minute or two long scene. It was like 10. So we all know what character he's going to be like, even if it's not outwardly said or we haven't outwardly seen him train or such. We know his character arc is going to be useless guy, kind of like the analyst, and inevitably he's going to want to help because his friends are getting beat up. We all know that's coming. It came, and they spent too long on it. The end of last week's episode stirred up a whole lot of conversation again. I'm pretty sure everybody that is very much against Tsubaki as a person has pretty much quit the series at this point, I do assume. I found it a little bit questionable in regards to what's like actually happening. Like, is this not an underage kid? I mean, I know there's more to pole dancing than strip clubs, but like to have people watching and for it to be normalized, which I don't think is wrong at all, but for it to be normalized in Japan, there's just been a few questionable things about the reality of this universe. That's what I'm trying to say. Like I said, in a perfect world, it would be like absolutely fine. But being realistic, would you have seen that scene last episode with all those factors? The age, the fact that this is a man, the fact that old men were watching. Would that have actually happened? I very much doubt it. And that's not the only occurrence of that. Don't get me wrong, this is not trying to be like super down to earth, this show. I mean, we've got teenage boys beating up 30 adult men. But I feel like it does try just to pause for a minute. Sorry, I got a bit of a rant here. But episode 6 was very down to earth. It was, and I think that honestly that great episode of episode 6 actually negatively affected, which is very ironic to say considering it was the best episode of this season by far. But because episode 6 was well done and nuanced and actually quite subtle and was a good storytelling, had really good pacing, that is very much kind of underlined the issues with the rest of the season. The fact that this was like a perfect example of a good short story done and good characters and good progression done in 25 minutes. It makes you look back at the rest of the season and the whole like 2 hours or 3 hours accumulation worth of scenes. It's like they managed to achieve much more in 20 minutes than they did for the rest of the season, is what I'm seeing. And for me anyway, like I said, that episode 6 was probably the best episode of the series, to be honest with you. Away from the action and stuff anyway. Even with the action stuff, to be honest. But yeah, it does feel like they do try to be like down to earth. Yeah. I can understand the exceptions of the fight scenes and the kids beating up adults, which some people said was realistic, but to be honest with you, I mean, it's possible, but it's obviously the older you fight to a certain degree, the less chance you have of winning. In a field like being a delinquent, you can't expect these adult men who are part of an organization not to be able to fight whatsoever. And they're fighting like 16, 15-year-old boys who know their stuff and got skills, but it does strain believability a little bit. But even so, I can understand that. I can be like, yeah, that is what it is. But the scene last week, at the end of last week, was it believable? Has anyone ever like seen that? I mean, it's probably a thing some places, but it's yeah, it strains credibility a little bit, to be honest with you. Even the fact that Tsubaki Ino is like a part of this, again, in a perfect world, it'd be absolutely fine. But an all boys group of delinquents accepting someone like Tsubaki Ino, I mean, I know they're a lovely group of boys, but it and no one having any problems, that's the thing. It would be believable that they would be a part of it, but nobody having any problems whatsoever, that also strains believability a little bit. As I said, it does kind of feel like this is the perfect world of the author, perhaps, that's actually coming across here. So it does feel a little bit less kind of down to earth with how the rest of the show feels. Not sure how you guys feel about that. Again, a bunch of people were disliking it for various stupid reasons, but again, I didn't dislike the end of last week's scene, but like I said, it just strains credibility a little bit. The people in this club don't have any issue with a man on stage. And these are all straight men, if you know what I'm saying. Like, as you see from the reception that Tsubaki Ino's got as a character, there's bound to be pushback on him. And there's been none of that. I'd kind of like to see some of that so that we can address it, if you know what I'm saying. I'd quite like to see how we address someone that does have an issue with this. I think that would be quite interesting. Also, sentiment to Tsubaki Ino for being able to do something like this. I imagine it's, if you're in the similar position to Tsubaki Ino, it would be really nerve-wracking to actually initially do something like this, knowing that you're not a what society deems as a normal person. Brave guy, very brave guy. To be honest, I wouldn't ever do it anyway. I'd be I'm too fucking embarrassed to even like dance or anything. So no chance of me doing anything like that. Of course. They're just slightly older, aren't they? What is that shot of Tsubaki Ino, by the way? The low I don't know. He kind of looks like. Sorry, I call it him. She. He kind of looks like a frog when it's like zoomed out and not in too much focus. Kind of reminds me of those old 3-year end kind of low quality screenshots I used to really enjoy. It's quite funny. Some of the best parts of such a masterpiece of a show was the lower quality aspects of it. Who's this now then? Oh, was that her? Got a bit bandaged up. Again, her haircut. is very dodgy. I said that last week, and going through to pick out a thumbnail, it even stood out even more to me. Very pretty girl, but yeah, I feel like she needs to get rid of that very dodgy half fringe thing. Got a nice voice. A very nice voice. Try and glows of a glows. It was amazing how everybody in the crowd just stopped. That was very nice. Number one. It's quite, again, another question is like, yeah, it's very much a strip club kind of stage, is it not? Maybe this used to be like that and they changed it into this like restaurant. No, but I'm looking forward to it. Looks like a good fighter from what we see in the opening. Kind of surprised we haven't seen him properly throw down yet. And these guys need to eat their bloody vegetables. They're even more of a sought after thing in Japan. Vegetables, are they not? Yeah. So, just purely based off of last episode, it would, it would, I think it would be fair to assume if 2.5, we'll call it, because of Nire, 2.5 boys can fight 30 of these men. We can bring 20 of our Furin boys and beat 300 of theirs, right? So I'm not worried. Like just right off the bat, I'm not worried about like the problem with the unrealistic nature of the fighting, as I just mentioned. Again, I can understand it and I can kind of accept it to a degree, but it does. It's one of those, as I just said, like it stands to reason that if we bring 20 Furin people, we'd be able to beat 300 of theirs. If we bring 200, pretty much the whole of Furin, we'd be able to beat 3,000 grown men. I know it doesn't exactly work like that, but you get the gist of it. And because of that, it just feels like the stakes are there's not too much stakes because this group, this new villain group or whatever you want to call them, these new antagonists, they have no threat to them whatsoever. Right from the off, we've just removed any kind of threat of these people. It's just it doesn't make for good kind of attention, or it doesn't make me worry. It's like, oh, there's a load of men out there. I've got absolutely no worries considering two teenage boys just beat just beat a bunch of them up. So there's like, it feels like there's no stakes. It's just, again, some of the writing in this series, I know this is unpopular opinion, I got quite a lot of dislikes on my last video, but it is very naive. It is very, I'm not sure if this is the author's first work, but it does, and I say this a lot about manga, because mangakas probably grow up wanting to draw drawings. I don't think they want to grow up creating stories. Some of them probably do, and there's been masterpiece mangas adapted to anime and such that I've seen, but initially I think a mangaka wants to get into the business because they want to draw. So it makes sense that probably quite a few would not be too good at creating stories, especially at the start of their careers. So I've got to assume that this is maybe one of the early works or first works from the creator. And as I said, it just feels quite naive in that regard. It feels like there's a lot of tropes that we see from a lot of shonen anime, a lot of the same themes and such here, which, again, I think in some episodes, like episode 6, done really well. But especially this season, for the most part, it's felt very naive and very, say, this is not how you write up a conflict. Don't write up a conflict by pretty much having the audience disregard the opponents right from the off. Like, oh, you're just making up reasons to get into fights now. And actually, you can say that about you can say that about any story. Oh, it's just a reason to see the fight scenes, blah blah blah. But it does feel like especially the start of this arc is just a reason for us to have a conflict. I don't know, I said it probably an unpopular opinion. I'm not sure about that. This season's been very 50-50. It's a little bit skewed because of, again, a horrible set of people that just hate the show now because of one character. But genuinely, people like me that have a lot of issues with this season, I think have got good points. And I think it is 50-50. A lot of people really don't like the direction this season's gone, and a lot of people really love it, which is not awfully surprising considering the themes covered here and such. It ruined my suit. Like I said, like it matters. Why are you trying to make these guys look scary? It was in the first fucking minute of meeting all these people, it was decided that these guys are not scary and they're not going to do anything. There's just no stakes here. What stakes are there on this? You can have as much good looking action as you want. If there's not interesting stakes or interesting stuff behind the fight, themes, story, characters, people on the line, stuff like that, it means nothing. It's like solo leveling for me. Solo leveling is just a bit of an empty shell of a very good looking and awesome production behind nothing. And sometimes I still like that. I'm a guy after all. Sometimes I just like some nice looking fight scenes, but if you really want to impress me, yeah, I've got to feel something while watching it. I can just turn my mind, less so with anime, I think, but usually when I'm like watching a movie, I can easily just turn my mind off and turn my brain off and just enjoy some schlock. And I'm a horror fan after all. I've watched a lot of shit and enjoyed it, but yeah, I feel like anime is slightly different in that regard. Why would you say that? Oh, the opportunity I had to go for your back, I've now just shouted to you to let you know. I feel like shows have got more smart with their stuff like that. There's like reasons why people like say their abilities now and stuff, and there's like things people do to explain stuff like that. And this show is just like an absolute trope of tropes, stuff like that. Still ain't seen like a single punch even land from one of these absolute mobs right here. This guy took a hit, so I think the first time we've seen that. As I said, that's just the difference, I think, between adults versus kids. Inevitably, your punches won't be quite as effective as well. Oof. Damn. Honestly, you might have just killed those guys. Both are. These guys fit quite well, don't they? We know. We know. Well, that's an interesting way of looking at a fight, actually. I've got to say, like, usually with stuff like that, when they use like these 3D kind of looking, I'm not sure that's CGI. I'm not really sure, but those like lesser detailed versions of the like the background fights with that, they actually still look decent. Usually they're laughably fucking bad. Not that it's massively important because, as I said, they're background kind of fights, but I appreciate the fact that they don't look stupid as hell. So they usually do. But again, like Tokyo Revengers is a good example of that. It has some of those, and they look stupid as hell. But that almost adds like to the cringiness of it, which is a good kind of cringe, a kind of nice bit of cheese. This guy looked like Simple Jack. And just take them off these guys, beat these guys, and take their suits. I swear, in every Yakuza game, there's always been like a subplot about like some naked geezer trying to get my suit or something. So they were pointless. They were just used. Got these white, very bland white things wrapped around them. Oh no! They don't go to school. Oh god! As I said, sometimes the show just like as like an adult, it does feel very childish sometimes. Not sure about you guys. Again, I assume this is a shonen, so again, it feels weird saying that because I've like one of my favorite ever, like a few of my favorite ever anime, like Hunter x Hunter, for example. That's a shonen. Yeah, that's got like really mature themes, I think, and like this, it feels bad calling something like shown and just is aimed at children, because a lot of the time it's not. But this very much does feel like a bit more for the younger audience in some aspects. And you get the aspects of like Tsubaki no, which is probably not meant for a younger audience, I would think. Mercenaries? Mercenaries? Really? This is gravel. So I assume the tattooed guy we saw, what, 6 episodes ago, is like the leader of these guys. Sumiyaki Niku. So yeah. This is the actual kind of antagonist group. Yeah. Well, you still ain't got enough people. Well, they might be slightly stronger, but like I said, there's just so much cliche. It really is like, and they play it so straight. As I said, the obvious examples are going to be Tokyo Avengers. They play it so straight here. It's just like they're not even saying this unironically. Whereas again, in Tokyo Avengers, they probably are. They're probably not saying it unironically either. But it's just there's something quite funny and cheesy about it that makes it fun. Here, it's just like it plays it full. Like there's actually fights. I don't have to go in wanting to win. My God, no way. Bloody hell, man. Get Tsubaki in action. I want to see him fight. I think that scene. Yeah, it's the fight or flight response, isn't it? We've already chosen here. But yeah, I think the scene with Tsubaki fighting in the opening is from this, isn't it? Yeah. It also kind of feels like another terms of the weak writing for this arc specifically, which has only been 2 episodes, but you're also asking us again. We don't care about the villains already. We've got a new set now introduced to. They've only just been introduced, to be fair, but the protagonists now as well. This group of people defending this area, we're meant to like them because they're similar to Furin. Yeah, we don't actually really know these guys. Like, you're now asking me to really root for them just because they're the good guys. I mean, you should always try and root for the good guys, I guess, but that's why you're asking me to root for them, because they're on the right side of things, not because of who they are or anything I learn about them or anything. So I don't even really care about the protagonists right now either. So you've now given me a situation where I don't care about the antagonists. I also now don't care about the protagonists. So we've got a conflict here that wholly pretty much means nothing other than the fact that one is on the side of good and the other bad. Which is just like the most simplistic writing you could ever write. Right? Right? Like in this situation, does anyone care for anyone here apart from Sakura, Suo, and Nire, and the girl who we met last episode, and Tsubaki? Yeah, they're not even seemingly super involved right now. So yeah, as I said, I've really not been a fan of how this arc started. Is again just like so cliched and simple, and just like, again, it's not even like unironically good. Like there's not even like again, I've watched a lot of bad horror movies. There's not even like a too bad, it's so bad it's good kind of thing with this. It's like it's bad, but it's actually wrapped up in a beautiful product, so that you can't even gain anything from that respect, if you know what I'm saying. The action in this episode, like I said, was really good. It looked really nice, but there's just no weight behind it. There's no interesting kind of story or characters or anything we really care about behind it. So that's been lacking this whole season, again, apart from episode 6. I don't know why. I feel like someone else must have done episode 6. Like I said, it just stands that episode is just really diminished every other episode this season in terms of the quality, the proportion of quality in that episode compared to the rest of them, and the subtlety of the storytelling. And then the subtlety in this storytelling is you see a scene of fucking Sakura going, people could fight without wanting to win, and it's just like, come on, you're almost a man. You're like a 16-year-old kid. You're talking like you're 5. Yeah, like I said, probably won't be a very popular opinion. My video last week got a lot of dislikes. This probably get even more, but yeah, I think a lot of people do share my sentiment over this season. Do let me know what you guys think about this one though down in the comment section. Let me know what you guys thought of this introduction. Again, I really couldn't care less about many of the characters introduced here. Do leave a like on the video if you guys did like, and subscribe to the channel if you do want to keep up to date with these reactions though. I will obviously be continuing till the end of the season, which might be it for me if it does continue this way. Which is a shame, because again, there was sparkles of kind of brilliance. I think the start of season 1, I feel like the end of season 1 was really weak, but the start of season 1 was good for me. Episode 6 of this season was good for me. Like there's sparkles of really interesting kind of stuff going on here, but it's just, you got to go through a lot of mud to get through it, unfortunately. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and have a good rest of your day.